Imagine you were a Ukrainian farmer in 1932. You live in a small village. You work land that has been in your family for generations. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe, some of the most fertile soil in the world. You grow wheat, barley, vegetables. Every year, you produce more than your family needs. You are not wealthy, but you are not starving. You have food. You have a future. If you are watching this, please subscribe. Every episode of If History Repeats explores moments when those in power chose profit, control, or ideology over human lives, and asks whether the same patterns continue today. In the spring of 1932, Soviet authorities arrive in your village. They announce new grain quotas. The state needs grain to export, to finance industrialization. The quotas are impossibly high. You explain that you cannot meet them and still have seed to plant next year. They do not care. You hand over what you can. It is not enough. They come back, this time with soldiers. They search your home. They take everything, not just grain, vegetables, potatoes, livestock. They take your cow, your chickens. They dig through your floors looking for hidden food. They find a small sack of grain you buried for seed. They take it. Under Soviet law, the law of three stocks, hiding even small amounts of grain is theft of state property. The penalty is 10 years in a labor camp or execution. You watch them load everything onto trucks and drive away. Winter comes. You have nothing. Your neighbors have nothing. The entire village is starving. You hear rumors through other villages. The same thing is happening everywhere. All food confiscated. And the borders are sealed. You cannot leave Ukraine. Food cannot come in. You are trapped. You eat bark, grass, anything. Your children are dying. Their bellies are swollen from starvation. You watch them suffer, and there is nothing you can do. In the spring, you should be planting, but you have no seed. The Soviet authorities took it all. Even if you had seed, you were too weak to work. By summer, your village is silent. Half the people are dead. The other half are waiting to die. And here is what will make you furious. While you starve, Ukraine is exporting grain. Trains loaded with wheat roll past your village, heading to ports, shipped abroad, sold to finance Stalin's industrial projects. Ukraine is producing food, just not for Ukrainians. The Soviet government is deliberately starving you, not because there is no food, but because Stalin wants to crush Ukrainian resistance to collectivization. Starvation is the weapon. This is not a hypothetical scenario. This happened. Ukraine, 1932 to 1933. The Holodomor, death by hunger. 4 million Ukrainians starved to death, not from crop failure, not from drought, from deliberate policy. The Soviet government confiscated all food, sealed the borders, and exported grain while millions died. Villages emptied, families disappeared, and Stalin denied it was happening. Welcome to If History Repeats. Today, we go back to Ukraine, 1932, to the famine that was not a famine, the grain that was taken and exported while people starved, and the government that weaponized food to commit genocide. And then we ask, does this still happen? Can starvation still be used as a weapon of control and punishment? Let's begin.
The Holodomor did not happen by accident. It was policy, deliberate, planned. The result of Joseph Stalin's forced collectivization of agriculture across the Soviet Union. In the late 1920s, Stalin launched a campaign to collectivize farming. Private farms were eliminated. Peasants were forced onto collective farms controlled by the state. The goal was to increase grain production and fund rapid industrialization. But Ukrainian peasants resisted. Ukraine had a strong tradition of independent farming. Many refused to join collectives. They were labeled kulaks, wealthy peasants, enemies of the state, even though most were not wealthy at all. Stalin's response was brutal. If Ukrainians would not cooperate, they would be starved into submission. In 1932, the Soviet government set grain quotas for Ukraine that were impossible to meet. When villages failed to deliver, authorities confiscated everything, not just grain, all food, potatoes, vegetables, livestock, even seed grain needed for the next planting. Search brigades went house to house. They dug through floors, broke into walls, searched barns and cellars. Anything edible was taken. The law of 3 stalks made it a crime to keep even small amounts of food. Punishment was harsh, years in labor camps or execution. People were terrified to hide food. And then the borders were sealed. Internal passports were required to travel. Ukrainians were not allowed to leave. Trains were stopped, roads were blocked. The Soviet government wanted to contain the famine. They did not want starving Ukrainians fleeing to cities or crossing into other Soviet republics. The message would spread, the world might find out. So Ukraine was locked down, a prison where millions would die. The starvation was apocalyptic. By the winter of 1932, villages were dying. People ate anything: grass, bark, leather, even dirt. There were documented reports of cannibalism, parents eating their own children. The desperation was unimaginable. Soviet propaganda blamed the victims. They were kulaks hoarding grain, saboteurs undermining the state, lazy peasants who refused to work. The truth was the opposite. Ukrainian farmers had produced grain, the state had taken it, and now they were dying because of it. Throughout the famine, Ukraine continued exporting grain. Soviet records show that in 1932 and 1933, the peak famine years, millions of tons of grain were shipped out of Ukraine to foreign markets. The money funded factories, machinery, industrial projects. Stalin's 5-year plan required foreign currency. Grain exports provided it. The cost was 4 million Ukrainian lives. Foreign journalists who tried to report on the famine were blocked. Soviet authorities denied anything was happening. Walter Duranty, a New York Times correspondent in Moscow, wrote articles dismissing reports of famine as propaganda. He won a Pulitzer Prize for his reporting. Decades later, his coverage was recognized as Soviet propaganda. He had lied, covered up a genocide. A few journalists got through. Gareth Jones, a Welsh reporter, traveled to Ukraine and documented the starvation. He published reports. The Soviet government banned him and discredited his work. Malcolm Muggeridge smuggled out reports describing the horror, but the Soviet Union's denial was effective. Many in the West did not believe the famine was real, or they believed Soviet explanations that it was kulaks' fault. By 1933, the famine was ending, not because the policy changed, but because there was almost no one left to starve. Entire villages were empty. The death toll is estimated between 3.5 and 4 million, with most historians agreeing around 4 million. Some regions lost over half their population. The survivors were traumatized, forbidden from speaking about what happened. Soviet authorities denied the famine had occurred. It was erased from official history. For decades, the Holodomor was a secret. Ukrainians knew, they remembered, but they could not talk about it. The Soviet state would not allow it. It was not until the 1980s, during Glasnost, the opening of Soviet society, that the truth began to emerge publicly. Archives were opened, survivors testified, scholars documented the evidence. The Holodomor was recognized for what it was, a deliberate act of genocide. Starvation used as a weapon to destroy Ukrainian resistance and culture. In 2006, Ukraine officially recognized the Holodomor as genocide. Multiple countries have done the same, but Russia continues to deny it. They claim it was a tragedy affecting all Soviet peoples, not a targeted attack on Ukraine. The historical battle continues.
So here is the question. Could the Holodomor happen today? Could a government deliberately starve millions of people? Could food be used as a weapon? Yes, because it is happening, right now. Yemen. Since 2015, a brutal civil war has created what the United Nations calls the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Millions face starvation, but Yemen is not a country without food. It is a country where food is being weaponized. Blockades prevent food from reaching certain populations. Starvation is deliberate, a tactic of war. The international community knows and does little. Syria. During the civil war, government forces besieged cities, cut off food supplies, starved civilian populations into surrender. Entire communities trapped, no food in, no people out. the same pattern as the Holodomor, starvation as a weapon of control. North Korea. The famine of the 1990s killed hundreds of thousands, possibly millions. The government controlled all food distribution, prioritized the military and elites, let rural populations starve, and denied it was happening. Even today, North Korea uses food as a tool of control. Rations depend on loyalty to the regime. Ethiopia in the 1980s. The government used famine as a weapon during civil war, blocked food aid to regions supporting rebels. Hundreds of thousands died. Starvation was policy, not accident. The pattern is clear. Starvation is still used as a weapon. Governments and militaries deliberately withhold food to control, punish, or destroy populations. The Holodomor was not a unique historical horror. It was an extreme example of something that continues. If you made it this far, thank you. In 1932, Joseph Stalin's government confiscated all food from Ukraine, sealed the borders, exported grain while 4 million people starved to death. It was deliberate. It was genocide, and the Soviet Union denied it for decades. Today, food is still used as a weapon. Yemen, Syria, North Korea. Communities starved by those in power. The Holodomor is not ancient history. It is a warning. When governments control food, they control life and death, and some choose death. Share this with someone who refuses to look away. Next episode, United States, 1976. A new strain of flu appears, swine flu. Doctors fear it could be like the 1918 Spanish flu that killed millions. President Gerald Ford orders a massive vaccination campaign. The goal, vaccinate the entire American population. 45 million people get the shot, but the pandemic never comes. The flu kills one person, just one, and then it disappears. But the vaccine? It causes a neurological disorder, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Hundreds develop paralysis. 25 people die from the vaccine. More deaths from the vaccine than from the flu it was supposed to prevent. The campaign that was meant to save lives ends up causing harm. The rush to respond, the fear that drove bad decisions, and the question, when does public health protection become public health disaster? I am if history repeats, and history always has something to say.